Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are doing something a little different.
A lot different, I'd say.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. Usually when we talk about the future or, the very near future, we're looking at white papers, tech specs, maybe some climate modeling. It's usually pretty dry stuff.
Oh, incredibly dry.
Mm-hmm.
Dry, predictable, and often, let's be honest, terrifyingly serious.
Exactly. But today we are looking at a stack of documents that presents a version of the near future, specifically Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, that is.
Ooh.
Well, chaotic doesn't quite cover it. It's more like a fever dream.
It is a vivid, bizarre, and highly specific slice of digital life. We're looking at a world where high-stakes geopolitics collides with slapstick comedy.
Right, and where theology gets reviewed like a bad Yelp restaurant.
And where the solution to tyranny involves tweeters.
Tweezers. We are absolutely going to get to the tweezers, but first I think we have to set the scene.
We have to.
The source material for this deep dive comes from a series of blog posts by an author named Paramendra Kumar Bhagat. The blog itself is called Face.
And right off the bat, that name requires a bit of context.
It really does.
Bhagat describes himself as Barack Obama's first full-time volunteer in New York City. So he's got this background in, grassroots political organizing.
Okay, so a political guy.
You'd think. But if you look at the sidebar of his blog, and we really dug into the metadata here, he's not just writing about canvassing or phone banking. Not even close.
No, looking at this list, it's wild. He's writing about liquid computing.
Oh, was it that?
I have no idea. But he's also writing about agentic AI, the African sovereign reset, and something called Kalkiism.
And that's the crucial context. That's the key that unlocks all of this. He's a futurist. He's looking at the world through the lens of rapid, almost violent technological and spiritual evolution.
Okay.
He sees AI just exploding in 2026. He sees global resets. So when he looks at the current state of, say, religion and politics, he's not just seeing tradition.
He's seeing obsolete technology.
Precisely. Legacy software that's crashing the entire system.
I like that. That makes sense.
And that worldview, that kind of techno-spiritual optimism, it informs the entire tone of what we're about to unpack.
So what's our mission for this deep dive?
The mission is to understand his central thesis, which is really a three-part argument. Part one, that religious prophecy is essentially a cosmic prank.
No prank.
A prank. And part two, that political liberation, specifically in the context of Iran in 2026, doesn't require an army. It requires what he calls a follicular revolution.
Follicular as in hair.
As in hair, yes.
And part three.
That we're on the cusp of a whole new age, and all of this is just the death rattle of the old one.
Okay, before we dive into the hair strategies, I need to pause and do a serious tone check here.
Yeah, we have to.
Because we are reading through this, and the language is colorful, doesn't begin to describe it. It's satirical, it's deeply irreverent, and honestly, it's pretty aggressive towards some very, very deeply held beliefs.
It is. And it's really important for us, and for you listening, to remember our role here. We are observers, we're impartial, we're reporting on the content of this specific source material.
We're not endorsing it.
Not at all. The author, Bhagat, is using satire as a weapon, a rhetorical weapon. Our job isn't to endorse his theology or his politics, but to analyze how he constructs this argument.
Right.
Because whether you agree with him or not, the way he dismantles these huge, powerful concepts is, it's fascinating.
We're taking the car apart to see how the engine works. We aren't necessarily driving it to church.
That is the perfect analogy.
So let's start with the first big concept. This is from a post dated February 18th, 2026. The title is The Great Cosmic Prank.
And the subtitle.
The subtitle is Why Allah Might Just Be the Universe's Worst Knock-Knock Joke.
I mean, talk about coming out swinging.
Right? There's no warm-up.
He does not waste any time. The core argument here begins with a complete deconstruction of prophecy. Think about how we usually discuss end times scenarios, especially in the context of Israel or the Middle East. It's always heavy, it's doom-laden, it's fire and brimstone.
It's the news sticker on the bottom of the screen that gives you a low-grade panic attack for the rest of the day.
Exactly. But Bhagat looks at these prophecies, specifically the ones predicting the destruction of Israel, the final triumph of one religion over another, and he just reframes the entire thing.
Yeah.
He calls it a cosmic prank call from the devil.
A prank call.
Yeah.
I want to drill down on that imagery because it's so specific. He writes, and I'm quoting here, imagine the devil picking up the phone and whispering, "Hey, want to die trying to take down a country? It'll be fun."
It's a complete subversion of the grand evil trope, isn't it?
Totally.
Usually in theology or even in Hollywood movies, the devil is this mastermind, this sophisticated, charming tempter, the great strategist.
Daniel Day-Lewis in a nice suit.
Right. But here, Fagat presents him as a bored, cosmic teenager making prank calls on a Saturday night.
And it gets even better. He says the devil couldn't prophesy his way out of a wet paper bag.
He does.
He describes the devil not as a beast, not as this terrifying entity, but as, I love this, the guy who shows up to the party with expired chips and a playlist of polka remixes.
Okay, let's stop there for a second. The polka remixes.
It's so brilliantly random.
It feels random, but it's doing a lot of heavy lifting, rhetorically. If you describe the devil as a terrifying monster with horns and fire, you induce fear.
Right.
And fear commands a certain kind of respect. It commands attention. But if you describe the devil as the guy with bad snacks and just annoying, terrible music,
That's not scary, that's just lame. He's pathetic.
it's banal. It's what Hannah Arendt called the banality of evil, but he's remixing it into the annoyance of evil.
The profound irritation of evil. I get it.
Exactly. He's stripping the adversary of its majesty, of his power. He's arguing that these end times prophecies aren't divine decrees, they are just shiny, explosive bait.
Bait for what?
For a game. He compares the whole geopolitical conflict to a game of geopolitical whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-mole, where the only winner is the Undertaker. That's a great line.
It is. And the implication is just hanging there in the air. Why are you playing?
Right.
If the game is rigged, and the prize is death, and the game master is just some cosmic prankster with a polka playlist, why are you putting the coin in the machine?
It's a call to just step back from the arcade game.
Completely. He says stop doom scrolling. He argues that watching history unfold is better than trying to rewrite it with fireworks.
But who are the people pushing these prophecies? Because a prank call needs someone to answer the phone, right?
This is where he introduces the YouTube mullahs.
Oh, man. I laughed out loud at this description. He paints this picture of religious leaders who are just hamming it up for the algorithm.
Utterly. He says they have beards longer than the CVS receipt.
Which, if you have ever bought one pack of gum at CVS, you know is about 4 feet long.
It's a hilarious exaggeration, but it captures the performative nature of it all. The beard isn't just facial hair, it's a prop. It's part of the costume.
He says they are waving ancient scrolls around like they are auditioning for a bad Indiana Jones sequel.
Behold, it is written, Israel shall crumble like a stale falafel.
Again, look at that choice of words. Stale falafel.
I know.
He could have said crumble like dust or crumble like the walls of Jericho. That would be biblical. That would be serious and scary. But stale falafel.
It's culinary. It's kind of gross. It makes the grand divine prophecy sound unappetizing, like something you'd send back to the kitchen.
It seems like his entire strategy is to take the holy and make it mundane, to take the scary and make it silly.
That is the absolute core of his satirical attack. He is using absurdity to strip these authority figures of their power.
And their mystique.
Yes. If you are laughing at the mullah because he looks like a bad Indiana Jones extra, you aren't afraid of his decree. And if you aren't afraid, you aren't controlled.
But he doesn't just stop at the messengers, at the YouTube personalities. He goes after the message itself. And this is where we get into what we're calling the theological takedown.
And honestly, this is the part where I think some listeners might gasp a little. It gets pretty intense.
It does, because he introduces this concept he calls God-light.
God-like.
Great taste, less fulfillment.
Something like that. He breaks down the concept of Allah, at least the version of Allah that he says is presented by these YouTube mullahs, and he describes this creator as an absentee landlord.
I think we've all had one of those. You call about the leak and they never call back.
Exactly. He writes, I'm the Almighty, but I'm stuck in traffic on the ethereal highway. It paints God not as mysterious or ineffable, but as flaky, unreliable.
It's a very modern bureaucratic excuse. Sorry, I can't smite your enemies today. I have a Zoom call.
And if you want a miracle, he says, and I quote, try the vending machine downstairs.
Wow. That is such a depressing, desolate image.
Isn't it? You're praying for salvation, for meaning, for help. And the divine response is the mechanical hum of a broken vending machine that just ate your last dollar.
It's the ultimate feeling of being ignored.
He says it's like dealing with an entity who ghosts you when the roof leaks.
But wait a second, isn't that, I mean, from a believer's perspective, isn't that just the problem of silence? The idea that God tests us or works in mysterious ways.
Of course. A theologian would call it divine silence or the dark night of the soul. It's a well-established concept.
But Bhagat calls it.
Bad customer service. He reframes the entire spiritual struggle as a consumer complaint. He's basically asking, are you getting what you paid for?
And in his view, clearly the answer is no.
Resounding no. Which leads him to this analogy of the rusty tricycle.
Okay, walk us through this one.
Yes, he says believing in this radicalized version of theology is like ordering a Ferrari online. The brochure looks amazing, it promises everything.
What's the Ferrari in this analogy?
Eternal paradise, 72 virgins, global dominion, victory over your enemies, the works. That's the Ferrari.
So you click buy, but what shows up in the mail?
A rusty tricycle with one wheel missing. And the scammer just shrugs and says, close enough.
It's the profound disappointment. That's the feeling he's tapping into. The massive gap between the promise of the religion and the lived reality under a theocracy.
Exactly. He's saying the product is defective. It's a scam. And he doesn't stop with the deity. He goes after the prophet, too.
This part is also pretty sharp.
He calls the historic Muhammad as real as a unicorn's LinkedIn profile.
A unicorn's LinkedIn profile. That is such a 2026 insult.
It really is.
It implies that the whole persona is a curated professional fabrication for a creature that doesn't even exist. It's fake. And it's also trying to network.
And he compares the biography of the prophet to a book titled The True Story of the Hairy Messiah.
There's the hair thing again. First the long CVS beards, and now the hairy Messiah. Why is he so obsessed with hair?
I think it's a recurring motif for him. It represents the messy, organic, unpolished reality of being human versus the clean, divine ideal. Hair grows, it gets dirty, it turns gray. It's biological.
It's an anchor to our animal nature.
Precisely.
Yeah.
By emphasizing the hairiness, he's grounding these lofty spiritual figures in a very physical, almost crude reality. He's dragging them down to earth.
But the central metaphor for this whole section, and honestly the one that stuck with me the most, is the French fries versus hay analogy.
Oh, this is the anchor of his whole argument.
It really feels like it.
It is. It's a masterclass in sensory writing. Let's walk through it slowly.
Mm.
He imagines the devil inventing a religion. But he can't create something genuinely good because, he's the devil.
He doesn't have the recipe for goodness.
Right. So he creates godlight, and the pitch is, here, try this. It's just like God, but with 100% more rules and zero customer service.
And he compares this religion to being handed a plate of French fries.
Yes. So you look at them, visual inspection, they are yellow, they are long, they're kind of crunchy looking.
They pass the eye test. They look like French fries.
But then you take a bite, and suddenly your mouth is full of splinters. He says you are spitting out splinters.
Yeah.
Because it's not potatoes, it's hay.
It's hay. Dry, splintery livestock feed.
Just think about that sensation for a moment. The betrayal. You're expecting the salty, fatty, satisfying comfort of a French fry, which, let's be honest, is one of the great simple joys of life.
Absolutely.
And instead, you get a mouthful of dry grass.
It's not just disappointing, it's disgusting.
Right.
While you're choking on the hay, the devil is in the background cackling, gotcha, now go conquer the world.
This metaphor is so effective because it does two things. First, it validates the hunger. It acknowledges that the people want the French fries, they want spiritual nourishment, they aren't stupid for wanting it, they're just hungry.
Right. That's a key point. He isn't blaming the victim.
Not at all. But second, it frames the radical ideology not as evil per se, but as fake. It's a counterfeit. It's a bait and switch.
It's fraudulent.
Exactly. He calls it the greatest bait and switch since that time I bought noise-canceling headphones that actually amplified my neighbor's polka parties.
The polka returns. The author really has a vendetta against polka music.
It's his running gag, and it represents the noise, the chaos, the distraction. The hay is the fake religion. The polka is the chaotic world that keeps you distracted from realizing you're eating hay.
So if we accept his premise, and it's a big if, that the prophecy is a prank, the leaders are bad actors, and the religion itself is a plate of hay, where does that leave the believer? It feels incredibly bleak.
It's a desolate picture.
Sorry, you've been scammed. Enjoy your rusty tricycle and your mouth full of hay.
You would be bleak if he stopped there, but he doesn't. This is where the futurist optimism we talked about kicks in. He pivots hard to a call to action, or rather, a call to enjoyment.
Smell the coffee. That's the headline.
Or smell the hay, realize it's hay, and just put it down. His prescription is to ditch the devil's dud diet. He argues that life is simply too short for fake prophecies and counterfeit food.
And he offers a vision of peace that is surprisingly simple. It's not some grand geopolitical treaty.
No, it's just, he says, Let's all laugh at the absurdity and high-five our actual neighbors.
And he specifically includes, in parentheses, yes, even the Israeli ones.
Which is a massive statement in the context of the Middle East in 2026. It's a direct repudiation of the us versus them narrative.
He's dissolving the enemy archetype entirely.
He is. If the prophecy about destroying Israel is just a prank call from the polka devil, then the Israeli neighbor isn't a demon to be fought. They're just another person trying to avoid the polka.
Another person who probably also enjoys actual French fries.
Exactly. We all want the real potatoes.
And he wraps up this entire theological section with what I'm now calling the good snacks theology.
I love this philosophy. It's so pragmatic. He says, if your God can't crash the party of human history, maybe it's time to find one who brings the good snacks.
It's pragmatic. It's almost hedonistic in a way.
It's utilitarian spirituality. If the religion isn't uplifting you, if it's not nourishing you, if it's just hay fries, why are you eating it? He's suggesting that spiritual truth should taste like actual potatoes. It should be nourishing and satisfying.
So we've handled the theology. We've established that the hay fries are bad. But this deep dive isn't just about theology. It takes a very sharp turn into politics.
A very specific political situation.
We move from the cosmic prank to the streets of Tehran. This comes from the post titled Devil's Advocate, Why Petitioning the Ayatollah for Freedom is Like Asking a Vampire for Sunscreen.
And again, the date is February 2026. Protests in Iran are the backdrop here, and the author's looking at the strategy of the protesters. He seems sympathetic to their goal freedom, but he thinks their methods are
Doomed.
well, yeah, doomed. He thinks they're making a fundamental category error. He argues that asking the Ayatollah for liberty is completely futile.
Let's unpack the vampire for sunscreen metaphor because it's really funny, but it's also logically very tight.
It is. Think about a vampire. What is a vampire's core relationship to the sun?
It's lethal. It destroys him.
Right. So sunscreen is a tool that allows you to exist safely in the sun. If a vampire gave you sunscreen, he would be facilitating his own destruction. It's antithetical to his very nature.
So asking CEO of Obey or Else Incorporated for freedom
Is like asking for the very tool of his own demise. He can't give it to you.
He compares the Ayatollah to a prison warden. You are asking the warden for the key to your cell, but the warden is busy polishing his collection of medieval torture devices.
His job is to keep you in. Why would he ever give you the key to get out?
But here is where it gets really interesting and where he connects the politics all the way back to the theology we just discussed. He argues the Ayatollah cannot grant freedom, even if he secretly wanted to.
This is the crucial link in his argument. Why can't he? Because in Bhagat's framework, the Ayatollah himself is a slave.
A slave to the devil.
He's just Satan's personal errand boy. He's middle management in the great cosmic bureaucracy of oppression.
The assistant regional manager of hell.
Right. So you're petitioning the middle manager for a massive policy change freedom. But the CEO, the devil, has a strict no-freedom corporate policy. The Ayatollah doesn't have the authority to grant your request. He's just following the corporate handbook.
That reframes the struggle entirely. It's not people versus the Ayatollah. It's people versus the system that enslaves both the people and the Ayatollah.
In a way, yes. He describes the entry into this religious political system as the ultimate pyramid scheme.
The entry-level pitch being become Muslim or die.
And once you are in, it's a bad relationship.
Yeah.
You can't escape. He compares it to trying to break up with a cult leader while still liking all of their Instagram posts.
That's the liking the Instagram posts part that really hurts. It implies complicity.
It's a sharp observation.
It implies that as long as you believe the theology, as long as you believe in the hay fries, you are actively, if unconsciously, supporting the regime that oppresses you.
Precisely. You can't effectively fight the Ayatollah while worshiping the same God light that, in this author's view, put him in power in the first place. It's a conflict of interest in your own soul.
So that brings us to the inevitable question, the solution. If petitioning the vampire doesn't work, what do you do?
You have to go DIY.
DIY liberty. I like the sound of that.
The author asserts, liberty isn't granted, it's DIY'd.
Okay, but how? What's the mechanism for this? It's not a political treaty or a UN resolution. It's not even an election.
No, nothing like that. It's spiritual severance. He argues that the chain binding the people isn't really the police or the laws. It's the bond with the devil. It's the belief in the system.
It's the buy-in to the pyramid scheme.
It's the buy-in. So if you snap that bond, if you withdraw your belief,
poof, freedom achieved. The prison walls dissolved because the walls were just made of your own belief. He says you don't need therapy or even a decent Wi-Fi connection. You just have to declare spiritual independence.
It's a radical act of mental and spiritual self-liberation.
But hold on. This is where I have to play the skeptic for a minute.
Please do.
This sounds very nice, very metaphysical. But in the real world, the Ayatollah has guns. He has prisons. He has a revolutionary guard. Can you really DIY your way out of a totalitarian regime with the power of positive thinking?
Bhagat addresses this head-on, and he dismisses the military power almost entirely. He calls the B-2 bombers, the pinnacle of American military might, over-caffeinated pigeons.
Over-caffeinated pigeons. I mean, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, it costs $2 billion per plane. It's a marvel of aviation engineering, and he calls it a pigeon on espresso.
Why does he do that? Because he's arguing that kinetic force bombs, planes, aircraft carriers is utterly useless in a spiritual war.
It's the wrong tool for the job, like trying to fix a computer virus with a hammer.
Exactly. He writes, external forces can't liberate you if you are spiritually bound to the father of all fibs. The Americans can bomb the buildings, but they can't bomb the belief that keeps you subservient.
That is a really profound point buried in all the satire. If the prison is in your mind, if you still believe the rusty tricycle is a Ferrari, no amount of air support is going to help you. You'll just end up building a new prison.
Right. So instead of chanting down with the regime, which is a political slogan aimed at the middle manager,
You aim higher.
you aim at the CEO. He suggests a different chant.
Out, demon, out!
He literally suggests replacing the protest petition with an exorcism kit.
So he's turning the protest from a political rally into a spiritual cleansing.
And notice what this does to the regime. It reframes them in this strangely humanizing way. He jokes that maybe the Ayatollah will join in because, and I quote, even slaves to the devil deserve a day off.
That's a surprisingly empathetic twist. He's not saying the Ayatollah is evil incarnate. He's saying, hey, Mr. Ayatollah, you're trapped in this pyramid scheme too. Why don't you quit with us?
It creates a path for the oppressor to defect. It's not us versus them, it's us versus the scam. And everyone is invited to leave the scam.
Okay, so we have the theory, DIY liberty through spiritual exorcism. We have the theology, don't eat the hay fries. But what does this revolution actually look like on the street? This brings us to the third and honestly the most unhinged and brilliant section of the source material.
The beard-pulling revolution.
The full title is Beard-Pulling Revolution, Iran's hairiest protest strategy yet.
I have to say, when I first read this section, I thought, surely he's joking. And he is joking, of course, but he's also not.
Yeah.
There's a serious theory of change under the absurdity.
The author proposes moving from violent revolution, from throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails, to symbolic follicular defiance.
And he starts with a very funny disclaimer. He says this isn't a WWE wrestling league called Moolah Mania.
No pile drivers. No body slams.
Just a gentle tug.
The scenario he paints is so vivid. You're walking down the street in Tehran. It's a nice day. You're sipping chai. You see a mullah walking towards you. And as you pass, yoink.
Yoink. Just a quick, playful tug on the sacred scruff.
He says it's like saying, hey, buddy, your oppression is as outdated as this facial fashion.
It's such a dismissive act.
But why the beard? Of all things, why focus on the facial hair?
Think about the semiotics of the beard in that regime. The beard is the uniform. It's the ultimate symbol of piety, of authority, of adherence to the religious law. It's the badge of office.
So by touching it,
by physically tugging it, gently, playfully, you are breaking a massive taboo. You are violating the sanctity of the authority figure. You are treating the sacred as something to be toyed with.
You're turning the figure of fear into a figure of fun. It's classic court jester tactics. The jester's the only one who can mock the king.
Exactly. And he recognizes the risk. If one person does it, they probably get arrested, or worse. But he imagines a nationwide epidemic of beard pulling.
A future where mullahs are investing in electric razors.
His proposed catchphrase for the movement, beard today, gone tomorrow.
And the news headline, Beardgate, the tug heard, round the world.
It's pure meme warfare.
But wait, isn't this actually incredibly dangerous? I mean, seriously, you go up to a member of the clerical elite in 2026 Tehran and pull his beard, you're going to get beat up, at best.
That's the risk, of course. But Bhagat argues that the nature of the protest makes it very difficult to police effectively. If you throw a rock, that's clearly violence. They can shoot you for that. But if you do a yoink, if you tug a beard and run away giggling,
It creates a real dilemma for the security forces. What's the protocol for that? Do you open fire on a giggling teenager with a pair of tweezers? It makes the regime look absolutely ridiculous if they overreact.
Exactly. It forces them to reveal their own absurdity. The overreaction is the point. And he adds these other layers of surrealism to it. He suggests flash mobs.
Synchronized polling teams, like an Olympic sport.
And the music. This is my favorite part. He suggests humming Yankee Doodle while doing it.
Yankee Doodle. It's so incredibly specific and random. Why that song?
I think it's because it's the ultimate nonsense song. Stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. It's pure daddyism. It makes no sense at all.
So you have a regime that takes itself with deadly seriousness, fire, brimstone, God's will, and you confront it with Yankee Doodle and a playful beard tug.
It short-circuits the entire system. The regime is built to fight enemies. It's not built to fight mockery. It's not built to fight the polka. It just doesn't know how to respond to that kind of asymmetrical, silly protest.
And if it all fails, if the revolution doesn't happen,
He has a backup plan. The freedom scarf.
he suggests that the protesters can knit a scarf from all the collected mullah hair.
It's so great.
It's absolutely disgusting.
It's hilarious, but it drives home the point. Make the oppression useful, take the symbol of their power, the hair, and literally turn it into a fashion accessory. It's the ultimate act of recycling and disrespect.
It circles all the way back to the cosmic prank. If the prophecy is a joke, then the protest should be the punchline.
Precisely. The whole thing is performance art as political resistance.
Now, we've been deep in the weeds, or maybe the hay of the text, but we need to zoom out. We mentioned at the beginning that Bhagat is a futurist. He's writing this in 2026. And looking at the sidebar and the metadata of the blog, there is so much context here that explains why he is writing this way.
This is the missing piece of the puzzle. This is what makes it all click. Paramendra Kumar Bhagat isn't just a satirist, he's a believer in a new age.
We see these other post titles on his blog, titles like AI in Global Education, Agentic AI, set to explode in 2026, and Liquid Computing.
Liquid computing.
Yeah.
That suggests a world where technology is fluid, adaptable, everywhere. He sees a world of agentic AI, AI that takes action, that solves problems independently. This is a guy who is thinking about a radically different future.
And then there's the Kalkiism. We see posts about the Last Age and Lord Kalki.
Let's break that down because it's central to his worldview. In Hindu cosmology, time is cyclical. There are 4 yugas, or ages. The last one, the one we are supposedly in right now, is the Kali Yuga,
Which is,
the age of darkness, the age of conflict, of moral decay.
sounds familiar.
Right. But Kalki is the final avatar of the god Vishnu. He's the destroyer of filth. He comes at the end of the Kali Yuga to wipe the slate clean and usher in the Satya Yuga, the age of truth, the first age of peace.
So if Bhagat is a believer in Kalkiism, he believes we are right at that tipping point, the end of the Dark Age and the beginning of a new one.
Exactly. And this explains everything. It explains his utter lack of patience for the YouTube mullahs and the B-2 bombers. To him, those are just artifacts of the dying Kali Yuga. They are the darkness thrashing around right before the light comes on.
So when he calls this version of Islam God light or a rusty tricycle, he's not just being mean or blasphemous for the sake of it. He's saying this is obsolete technology.
Yes, that's the perfect way to put it. He's saying, why are you riding a rusty tricycle when we are about to invent warp drive? He views the world through a lens of rapid exponential evolution. We have AI, we have liquid computing, we have the tools to solve human suffering on a massive scale.
And in that world,
In that world, an absentee landlord god and a vampire political system aren't just evil, they are inefficient. They are buggy code.
they are legacy systems that need to be deprecated.
To use the tech term, yes. He wants to upgrade humanity's operating system, and he thinks the current one is just riddled with bugs or, hey.
We also see his political predictions in the sidebar. AOC 2028, Rahm Emanuel, the African sovereign reset, peace for Taiwan is possible.
It shows he's a radical optimist. He believes in resets. He believes peace is possible even in the most intractable places. He mentions the African sovereign reset, the idea that whole continents can just reboot their operating systems.
So the satire, as biting and aggressive as it is, actually comes from a place of profound hope.
It absolutely does. That's the paradox. Cynicism says everything sucks and nothing will ever change. Satire, at least this kind of satire, says look how stupid and broken this is. We can do so much better.
He mocks the current state of the world so viciously because he sees a much better one just around the corner.
He's shaking the reader by the shoulder, saying, wake up. The future is here, and you're still sitting there politely eating a plate of hay.
Put down the hay, the potatoes are ready.
That's the message.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, and it has been a journey, from the polka devil to the beard revolution, let's try to summarize the whole argument.
Okay, we started with the cosmic prank. The idea that the terrifying prophecies of our time are not divine, but are just prank calls from a bored, lame devil with a polka playlist. The goal of the prank is simply to make us afraid and keep us fighting.
We move to the theological critique, the hay fries, the idea that the religion being offered by the radicals is a bait-and-switch scam that looks like sustenance but delivers only splinters. It's godlight, no nourishment.
Then we saw the political application in Iran, the vampire for sunscreen, the absolute futility of asking for freedom from a system that is, by its very nature, built on spiritual slavery. You can't petition a vampire for the sun.
And finally, the beard pulling revolution. The idea of DIY liberty that comes not from violence, but from ridicule, from fearlessness, and from the refusal to treat the oppressor with the dignity they demand.
It's the transition from kinetic warfare bombs and bullets to meme warfare, to spiritual warfare.
So what's the core takeaway for our listener, for you?
I think the core takeaway is about the power of reframing. We live in a world that constantly sells us fear. Fear of war, fear of economic collapse, fear of the other. Bhagat suggests that the most powerful weapon against that fear isn't a bigger bomb or a better bunker. It's mockery.
It's the refusal to take the bait.
Exactly. It's spiritual independence. It's realizing that the monster is just a guy with a fake beard and a bad script. Once you see the cosmic prank for what it is, you stop being afraid. You can just hang up the phone.
And when you stop being afraid, you can start high-fiving your neighbors.
Maybe even find the God who actually brings the good snacks.
So here is a provocative final thought for you to mull over as you go about your day. We've had a good laugh at the YouTube mullahs and the rusty tricycles, but maybe take a moment and look at your own life.
If the source is right, and liberty is DIY, and if the things we fear are often just pranks.
What cosmic pranks are you falling for? What hay fries are you eating pretending they are potatoes just because you've been told that's what's on the menu?
Is there a job or a relationship or a mindset you're staying in because you're afraid of a prophecy about your future that might just be a prank call?
Are you waiting for a savior to show up on a Ferrari, or are you ready to get off the rusty tricycle and just start walking on your own 2 feet?
Something to think about.
Go out there, find the good snacks, ditch the polka playlist, and maybe, just maybe, give your own reality a gentle tug on the beard. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
See you next time.